story is called Closer by Quinn. Like every other parent, mine had always wanted to take pictures of precious moments. Most of them consist of me with food on my face and other cliches. I recently found a box of these photos. They were all old Polaroids, and I still have the camera that was used to take them. I took a stack of the pictures out of the box and started looking through them. About halfway through the stack, I noticed something. A small black smudge. I thought it was just something on the lens, but it seemed to appear in every photo and gradually got bigger as I grew older in the pictures. I had finished that stack and decided to move on to the next, and there it was again, that same black spot in the corner. I quickly flipped through them, eyes barely gazing over the picture before changing it to the next. I had gone through about 8 years worth of pictures when I started to see something in the black spot. Outlines of something that was barely visible. I looked closely at each photograph, trying to find out what it was. Like always, as I progressed it got closer, I gasped as I looked at one picture. What I initially thought was just a smudge had turned into a face. It was slightly transparent. It had 2 large pits for eyes, a big white, toothy, evil-looking grin. It was so close, much closer than it had ever been. The mask was hovering behind my smiling 12-year-old self. I dropped the picture back into the box. That was the last picture I had ever taken. It's been 3 years since that picture. I closed my eyes, breathed out, then got up and put the box away. I walked back to my room and steered clear of mirrors and any other reflective surfaces. I sat at my desk and opened up my desk drawer. I looked down and I saw it. The camera that had taken all of those pictures. I grabbed it and held it in front of me. Facing me, I took a deep breath. 1, 2, 3, click. The picture slid up from the slit and started developing. I took it out and set it on the desk. I waited and waited, the picture slowly coming into view. I got up from the desk and walked over to my bed, grabbing my book and slowly making my way to the desk. I set the book down gently and closed my eyes. I patted around for the picture. Once I found it, I picked it up and held it in front of my face. I quickly opened my eyes and screamed. I didn't see me. I saw nothing of mine. All I saw was that face. The second story is called The Boogeyman by Vincent Vanna Cava. It started with my 3-year-old son screaming in his room in the middle of the night. When I came in to check on him, he was in hysterics. Tears ran down his little cheeks as he cried about how the boogeyman had frightened him. I let him sleep with my wife and I for the night, thinking it was just a bad dream. The next evening, he didn't even want to be in his room, but I convinced him that the boogeyman was just a figment of his imagination. I was awoken once more by his screams. I rushed to his room to find him in tears again. On the 3rd night, I set up a camcorder in his room in order to show him that there was no monster. That evening, there was no screaming or crying. I was refreshed when I woke up in the morning and after having gotten my first good night's sleep in 3 days. However, my son did seem fatigued. He didn't even put up his bus in the morning when we got him ready for preschool. When my wife took him to daycare, I decided to review the camera's tape in order to find out how he had slept. I'll never forget what I saw. At around 2 a.m. while my son was asleep, his closet door slowly creaked open. Out of the shadows crept a pale, naked, veiny woman with long hair and solid black eyes. Her body was bony and frail, like a Holocaust survivor. When she turned to the side, I could see her spine protruding from her hunched back like a dinosaur. She reached into my son's crib with her unnaturally large hands and covered his mouth. He was trying to scream, but he couldn't. The palm of one of her hands easily enveloped his head, muffling his cries. She snatched him up with ease that a person of her frame should not have had, then walked back into the closet with him in her arms. An hour later, she returned with what looked like a wriggling maggot the size of a duffel bag and placed it in my son's bed before retreating once more into the closet. Over the next 2 hours, I watched it twist and writhe while it grew and mutated until it looked just like my baby boy. Once the transformation was complete, it got out of bed and slipped on a pair of his pajamas, then slid back between the covers and waited for us to come in. I don't know what that thing is that left with my wife this morning, but I know it's not my son. The third story is called Eye Contact by Unknown Author. We've all experienced it, right? The sudden feeling like someone is looking at you. A chill runs up your spine, and you are convinced that you have to find the source of the sensation. You look around and see someone just randomly staring at you. It gives you even more of a spook, but after a few seconds of awkwardness, it subsides. You and the person go your separate ways, never to see one another ever again. Or do you? Why is it that we get that sensation when we make eye contact with another human being? I will tell you why. It's because they aren't human beings. Not at all. They look just like us, talk like us, act like us, but there is something strange about these creatures that mock us. They are destined to certain people in their lives. They know not of who they are or what they look like. Just ordinary people like you and I. When they find one of those people, the two of them make eye contact. At that moment, they are linked to you by a mortal bond. That is, if you die, the human, then they die. Well, that's not so bad, is it? I mean, if I was linked to someone by those means, I would personally try and protect the person. Wouldn't you? Remember that chill, the eerie feeling of ice shooting up your spine and back down again. That is your memories and your future, both of which are being copied at that moment and stored into their minds. Yet again, so what? Now they know all of your personal secrets. It's not like they will do anything, say steal your money or something, but no one ever does that. Really, they don't. Imagine this. Say you met someone the other day, a random person, who's to say that's not the next Hitler? If I was to be endowed with all the mindset of that person, I wouldn't care if I died, as long as I took them with me. Then again, maybe it's not so bad. Sure, it's rare and there are definitely good people out there, just hard to find. And if I was to see an extreme goodness in someone's heart, why would I want to protect them? For my life, yes, but for theirs as well, like a guardian angel, right? Just remember one thing. If anything, remember what I am about to tell you, because if you are like me, it will change the way you think about your life and the way you live. It may even save you from being struck down by one of them. Humanity is inherently evil. The next story is called A Warning About Silence by Peter O. Shamsine. Everyone, regardless of their particular mental state, has a curious kind of background noise in their minds. When that noise takes the form of original music, we call it being a genius. When it sounds like voices, we tend to call it schizophrenia. A single voice is often referred to as religion. Most people go through their entire lives without ever being consciously aware of this omnipresent aural phenomenon, save for in those rare moments when it catches their attention. Perhaps they think they've heard their name being called, or that they've been listening to the air rushing through the vents in their house. One way or another, though, the noise is there. You can hear it if you listen for it. Lie down in a quiet room and focus on clearing your mind. Mute your internal monologue. Erase the scenes from your imagination and let yourself sink into silence. Before long, the whispers of that hidden soundtrack will become evident, then grow louder as you learn to recognize them. It could be that you'll find the answers to questions you didn't even know you were asking, or perhaps discover a sense of inner peace that had been lacking in your life. Some folks refer to this as meditation, even if they are mistaken about what's really going on. The truth, you see, is much less comforting. If you've ever gone walking in the woods, you've likely encountered a cacophony of noises. The songs of birds, the chirping of insects, and the quiet rustles of small animals rushing through the undergrowth become so commonplace that our minds tend to tune them out. What we notice, though, is what happens when a predator draws near. The chorus abruptly stops. The forest becomes deathly still. A person walking amidst that sudden silence might feel the hairs on the back of their neck start to rise, and notice their heart pounding with a mixture of adrenaline and dread. When you listen to the sounds in your mind, it doesn't matter what form they take. What matters is that you can hear them all. As long as that clamor is present, you know that you're safe. All is well, even in the most tumultuous of times. The danger arises when that noise seems to stop, when you suddenly experience the most potent silence that you have ever encountered. In that moment, you may start to feel as though you are being watched. After all, in that still forest, the predator is the quietest of all. Try it for yourself if you'd like. When next you are completely alone, imagine you are listening to a sound of some kind. When that sound seems to stop, you'll know that you've been noticed. next story is called Darkness in the Rearview Mirror by unknown author. I have always been uneasy driving alone at night. It was worse the first few times when I had just gotten my license, but the nagging fear has never gone away to this day. It's disorienting to look into the mirrors and see nothing, and I mean nothing but the consuming blackness of the night. It makes me hesitant to check the mirrors should I see this dark void, or worse, someone sitting in my back seat staring at me. In the summer of 2013, I found myself driving home on Highway 902 from a party. It was almost midnight. Needless to say, it was pitch black. As was usual that night, I was on edge. I had the radio off and could hear nothing but the muffled roar of tires on pavement and the dull hum of the engine. I stole a glance into the middle rear view mirror and saw nothing but darkness through the back window. I know that I looked backward and saw nothing. I'm sure of it. Just the seemingly endless blackness of the night. I remember it so clearly because not 10 seconds later, a car passed me to the left. Headlights on. I had one of those sudden adrenaline rushes, like when you think you see a person outside your bedroom window, when it's just a tree, or when you start to awake at night with a feeling of falling. 10 seconds earlier, nothing had been behind me. Suddenly, a car. I drove all the way home shivering and knowing something was off. The next morning, I found 2 sets of scratches near the back of my van. One was on the left rear, one was on the right. The car was pretty old. They could have been there for months, but that was the first time I distinctly remembered seeing them. In hindsight, there are 2 possibilities for what happened that night. Possibility 1, by some glitch in reality or something paranormal, this other car had somehow appeared behind me within 10 seconds of me checking my mirror, like some weird ghost crap or something. However, the second option is what makes my blood run cold whenever I consider it. It didn't even occur to me until months after the fact, but it makes me dread driving alone at night even more. Possibly 2. The car was normal. It had approached me from the rear and passed me to my left. However, something large and wide and as black as the night had been clinging to this rear of my car, obscuring my view through the window and leaving deep scratches on the sides. And I had inadvertently driven it home with me. This next story is called Holder of Song by an unknown author. In any city, in any country, go to a mental institution you can get yourself to. When you reach the front desk, ask to visit the Holder of Song. You will be guided to a single door leading to a long, winding staircase. baby's cry will follow you. If you hear it for the rest of your life, you're lucky, for when it stops, your firstborn child has died. If there is no cry and the heat returns, proceed to the door at the end of the hall. Open it. The room will be awash in green light. In the center will be an old woman turning a music box that produces no sound. Her legs have both been severed at the knees. When you speak to her, you must look her in the eyes. She hides a spear fashioned from the bones of her legs, so if you break eye contact, she will impale you and leave you in agony to bleed to death. She will respond to only one question. Ask her, what was the song they used to play? The old woman will begin singing. The song is in a different language, but the melody is beautiful. The serenity will wash over you. You will be presented with the image of children playing and singing. Things will turn grimmer. The children will begin fighting, then killing, then disemboweling each other with sharp rocks. The image will continue of children spreading death and destruction, more horrific than you could ever dreamt. But still, you will remain calm and peaceful. You will see a naked boy drenched in blood, singing with delight as he runs through a hellish wasteland, pursued by unspeakable monsters. They find him and mutilate him utterly. Still, the song will continue from his dead lips. An intense pain will stab you at your chest. Your heart will feel like it's about to explode, but still, you must not break eye contact with the old woman. If you do, an exploding heart will become your happiest dream. If you don't shift your gaze, the pain will cease. The woman will stand up, you will not know how, and place the music box in your hands. The music box is object 6 of 538. When its song plays again, they will all come together. The last story is called Come Resurrection by Lindsay S. Hacker on Hacker. Hello, beautiful. If you can read this, please listen to my confession. You probably don't know me, but I've always known you for a very long time. And I don't know if I should say this yet, but I love you. I do. I love you. I really do. I love you so much that I built your entire world for you, so you may live on and on. I built it just after I met you. You are so beautiful lying there, with your dreamy eyes tenderly shut, your near translucent skin, which seemed to be growing paler and paler by the moment. The way your limbs were twisted, delicately mangled at the joints to form such an unearthly vision of vulnerability. Oh, that must have been such a long fall. Not only did the building possess incredible height, but I know how the most glorious of angels must fall the furthest. Oh, my angel, my contorted angel on the pavement, your soft flesh had been scraped away in just the right places, revealing your inner body's artistic formation. No one could ever appreciate such a sight but I. No one but I could ever admire the curvature resurrect you. But no, the time wasn't right. I was afraid I would frighten you away, so I created your afterlife, one just like the world you knew. Then I could keep loving you and your wounds, for what could be eternity. But I think you're ready to be revived now, to gaze upon the blackened eyes of me, your savior from below. You will live again, with love and beauty that will never die, as your wounds will always be fresh and your bones just as mangled as they were when I met you. You'll be able to feel my touch for the first time, our fluids mingling together, your cold blood. Don't worry, my love, I'll just be gentle